You know exactly who Dana White is. He's one of the richest guys on the planet and the absolute boss of the UFC, sitting on a $12 billion money-printing machine. But you'd never guess how brutal his starting point actually was. He grew up as a total rebel. His high school kicked him out twice for fighting and behavioral issues. He dropped out of college after just one semester. By his 20s, he was stuck carrying luggage at a rundown Boston hotel. That was his entire life, bending over, faking smiles, and begging for miserable tips. He watched rich guys walk past him all day, completely lost like a headless chicken. Dana didn't just wake up one day and decide to change his life. In fact, a literal death threat flipped his script. After quitting his bellhop job, he opened a tiny boxing gym to teach cardio kickboxing, which was blowing up at the time. Right when business started picking up, the notorious Boston mob showed up. They called Dana and dropped a bombshell. "You owe us $2,500 in protection money." Back then, that was an absolute fortune to him. The mob made it clear, pay up or else. Dana didn't beg, he just slammed the phone down. The next day, he bought a one-way ticket to Las Vegas and fled with $0 in his pocket. He wasn't chasing a dream, he was running for his life. But it turned out to be the smartest escape of his life. Once he hit Vegas, the gears of destiny finally started turning. He reconnected with his wealthy high school buddies, the Fertitta brothers. Lorenzo Fertitta was already a casino mogul and sat on the Nevada Athletic Commission. In 2001, they spotted a dying mixed martial arts company called the UFC. Back then, the UFC wasn't a real sport. It had barely any rules. U.S. senators openly trashed it on TV as human cockfighting. 36 states banned it outright. Nobody believed in this bloody, broken business. The original owners had even sold off the official website domain name. But Dana had an insane business instinct. He told his rich buddies, "This is a gold mine." So, they bought the whole mess for just $2 million. People literally laughed at them, saying they bought nothing but 3 letters, UFC. The first few years, they almost lost their shirts. Because of the bans, they couldn't get sponsors or sell tickets. In just a few short years, they bled a staggering $30 million. Think about it. You couldn't burn cash that fast if you threw it directly into a furnace. One day, a desperate Lorenzo called Dana and said, "Bro, we can't survive this. Find a buyer and sell the company." Dana gritted his teeth and searched for anyone to take it off their hands. But the best offer he could get was a pathetic $8 million. Selling meant losing everything and becoming the laughingstock of the country. The morning before they were supposed to sign the surrender papers, Lorenzo called back with a total change of heart. He screamed into the phone, "Screw it, let's keep riding." Dana knew right then, there was no turning back. Since they decided to fight to the death, they had to change the rules of the game. Dana immediately launched massive reforms. He worked directly with state athletic commissions to build strict rules. He banned strikes to the back of the head and spine, and forced every fighter to undergo intense medical screenings. He changed the slogan to "as real as it gets," proving this wasn't just a brawl, it was an elite, professional sport. But to actually host events, he had to beg everyone. Finally, Donald Trump threw him a lifeline. Trump let the UFC host events at his Atlantic City hotel. When the whole world counted Dana out, Trump gave him a massive stage. That's why, no matter how much the media bashes Trump today, Dana remains fiercely loyal. That's the rule of the ultra-rich. You help me through the fire, and I'll have your back forever. Even with the new rules and legal status, networks still refused to broadcast their fights. By 2005, the company was completely out of cash and staring at a dead end. Dana came up with a wild, gambler's plan. He stopped begging others and decided to put up millions of their own dollars to produce a reality show called The Ultimate Fighter. They locked 16 rising fighters in a Las Vegas training camp, filming their lives, training, and brutal elimination matches. It was like taking your last few coins and betting everything on a single number on the roulette wheel. If the ratings flopped, the UFC went bankrupt, and everyone would be sleeping on the streets. But on finale night, inside a cage covered in blood and sweat, 2 fighters put on an epic, historic war. The ratings absolutely exploded. Millions of Americans flipped on their TVs to watch for free. Right there in the cage, an ecstatic Dana announced that both fighters were getting UFC contracts. That single fight literally dragged the UFC back from the grave. You think Dana let his guard down once the cash started rolling in? Absolutely not. He is an incredibly sharp, ruthless businessman. Starting in 2005, even while the company was still growing, they used brilliant debt moves to pay themselves massive dividends. Over 11 years, they pocketed a staggering $1.2 billion in payouts. They secured generational wealth before the company was even sold. Then, in 2016, a massive conglomerate bought the UFC for a jaw-dropping $4 billion. Insiders screamed that the buyers were insane and overpaying. But Dana, thanks to the sweat equity shares he owned, walked away with a cool $360 million in cash. He went from a broke kid running from the mob to a multi-millionaire powerhouse. But the story doesn't end there. The buyers had one mandatory condition: Dana had to stay on as president. Because without Dana White, the UFC money machine doesn't work. As the mastermind behind a multi-billion-dollar empire, his business logic is cold as ice. Critics always blast him for underpaying fighters, and some even tried to start a union to fight him. How did Dana respond? He called the top stars into his office and coldly told them, "If you unionize, your overall income will actually drop." Why? Because his strategy was to pour every dollar into aggressively expanding the brand, making the UFC pie infinitely bigger. If they had locked profits into high, collectively bargained fixed salaries early on, the company would have died on the vine. He hyped up loudmouth stars like Conor McGregor to create massive hype and grab global attention. He knew exactly what this was. Not just a sports event, but a blockbuster entertainment show selling heroism. Business is business, and he kept total control over the pay structure and profit distribution. Sounds heartless, right? But that is the raw, brutal law of survival in the business world. Fast forward to 2025, and Dana shocked the business world yet again. He personally spearheaded a massive 7-year broadcasting deal with Paramount worth a staggering $7.7 billion. $7.7 billion. That's enough money to buy every luxury supercar you've ever seen. This move was incredibly bold because he completely abandoned the traditional, old-school pay-per-view model. Why? Because the old paywall system caused piracy to skyrocket by 10 times. He refuses to let anyone steal his money. Leveraging the network of Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison, right after Paramount's acquisition went through, he aggressively locked down this all-inclusive package within 48 hours. He didn't just want the cash. He wanted to exploit his partner's resources to pave the way for the next 5 years. Plus, he insisted that the UFC must produce its own broadcast signals. He bluntly stated, "As long as I'm in this seat, control stays with me." That's who he is, the ultimate puppet master who always controls the board. When you really look at Dana White's story, you uncover a secret shared by all elite billionaires. Whether in business or daily life, you must maintain absolute, ruthless consistency. Today, the merged company is valued at over $12 billion, but he's still starving for more, planning to pump massive capital into China and the Asian market. In the most prominent spot in Dana's office hangs a famous Bruce Lee quote. It says, "If you always put limits on what you can do, it will spread into your work and into your life. It will kill you. Every morning you wake up, you have to find a way to beat the person you were yesterday." Right next to it is another powerful quote. "Everybody pities the weak. Jealousy, you have to earn." Don't ever be that pathetic person begging for sympathy in the corner. Stand up, use your massive success and wealth, and force everyone to envy you. That is the entire secret of how a broke bellhop became a multi-billionaire. What's the coolest lesson you learned from his story? Let me know loud and clear in the comments below.